Hold on, I did that completely backwards.
I was riffing with you.
Alrighty, take 2. Hi, and welcome to Second Chance Book Club, a podcast where we read books we've read before and are here to give it a second chance.
And a second opinion.
But here's the catch. Although one of us has read it, the other has no idea what the book is even about.
Completely in the dark.
Except for a few helpful hints along the way. So come join us and be part of the Second Chance Book Club. Opinions and views expressed in this podcast are solely our own.
We're just here to talk about books.
I'm Hannah.
I'm Haley.
And
this is our quadruple chance book club.
We made a whoopsie, and by we, it's probably was me.
That's okay.
No, it was the technology, genuinely.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think it's you.
We're learning how to be independent young women when it comes to these recordings, because we want to be able to do it ourselves, and sometimes that comes with mistakes.
Mistakes being we could only hear one of us in our whole 2 hours of recording that we had.
Yeah, it was.
And we found out in a cafe, and it was really sad.
It was really sad. The coffee sucked. I threw it away, and it made my tummy hurt.
So then we had a tummy ache and disappointment.
Yeah, but
that's my theme of the week is a tummy ache and being a little disappointed. I don't know how to even begin with this. Well, this is such a weird one because I now know about this book and I've heard about this book.
Well, let's talk about, and we can share what we remember.
Okay.
So first of all, my book this time, I guess, was The Giver. Now, the reason I chose this one and why it was so important to me is it was one I read with my mom when I was a kid. It was the first chapter book I ever remember reading with her.
Shout out to Miss Delena.
Yeah, you're gonna love this one. But for her, she told me that she remembered us reading this when I was in like 2nd or 3rd grade. Mm-hmm. I thought I was like 4th or 5th. But we would sit together and read each chapter over a couple weeks, I think one summer. And I really enjoyed it. And I was excited to read the next book. And then when I started it, I was so disappointed that the characters weren't the same. Because it does leave on a pretty interesting cliffhanger.
That's how I felt with a lot of the what is it? The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe series when they were slightly about different people. Mm-hmm. I was like, no, I don't want
it. And I think we do need to start, Haley, with tell us a little bit about what you thought The Giver was and what you got confused with.
I forgot about it.
I didn't.
Okay. To my credit, shout out to Miss Miller, my 3rd grade teacher. She had a library filled with Lois Lowry. But we had all the books in our classroom, and something about an old man on the cover and it being, I don't even know if it's in black and white. I think it's in black and white.
Yeah, I mean the original cover is.
Okay. Yeah. So because of that, as I grew older, I got The Giver confused with Schindler's List.
We did later figure out though why you made that confusion.
Yes. I don't remember what we said.
It's because another book Lois Lowry wrote that I might do on the podcast was Number the Stars.
Number the Stars, you're right.
Which is about a young girl in Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
So it makes a little bit of sense.
There is a small Schindler's List connection.
Yes, tangentially related.
Yes, but no,
not in content.
No, not in content at all. And this is second to none with, I think I just also as a kid mixed up a lot of different movies and different books. Because one time on TikTok, I really vulnerably said on someone's video talking about the road to El Dorado how I used to get it confused with the Prince of Egypt. And then I got a hate message from some 12-year-old saying that I'm anti-Semitic. And so ever since then, I've been really scared to admit when I mix things up.
That's so fair. And speaking of hate mail from 12-year-olds, that is something Lois Lowry did receive in relation to this book. Mm-hmm. Specifically, lots of young boys, but what a queen. She puts up with a lot.
The one thing I will say from recording this podcast before, is I do remember how much I love Lois Lowry.
Yeah.
Like, I went in knowing A, nothing about her book, and B, knowing literally nothing about her, and hearing how she responds to things, and also the thought that she put into her book. And I just, she's so cool.
Oh, and just another heads up to the readers. This one might be a little bit longer, but I want you to know ahead of time, you are not contractually obligated to listen to all of it.
Yeah.
Because
we'll forgive you this time, book club.
Heads up. This does is the first in a 4-book series, and I did read all of them this time. And I think it's important to talk about the other books because it's such a wild ride. And I do think it brings a lot of richness to the conversation.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
If you don't want spoilers for that, there'll be a chunk at the end, and we'll let you know too, where you could skip if you want to just hear about the give up.
Yeah, if you don't want spoilers, or if you're like, that's too many books. That's not the book club I signed up for.
That's too much yapping.
That's too many yapping, and I'm not here for it. Totally fair. We will warn you when you can skip stuff. This is just going to be a really wonky episode to begin with.
Considering this is our second time.
This is our second
time
recording.
That means you're getting the best. Because
theoretically,
we hope.
And I just want to nap. I just want to nap. Can I fall asleep and you tell me about The Giver? Do we think book club would like that?
I'll be so sad and lonely.
No, I won't fall asleep.
So now, before we go into the main stuff, part of our tradition is the reader makes the graphic. So I created a chaos graphic, as I usually do, that Haley was very confused. And I will say, the first time around, she did really well.
Yeah. Book club, y'all didn't hear it, but I kind of ate down with that.
Considering you thought it was Schindler's List going in, you did pretty well with the graphic.
Leave me and Schindler's List out of this.
Which I do think that says something to my graphic design.
You know what? I agree with that. And honestly, now knowing the book, yeah, you did really good on this graphic. You incorporate a lot of your plot, as where mine are just kind of like, here's some images, take what you will. I think this one was your best one yet.
So describe, what do you think is some standout features?
Yeah. Well, the crying old man massaging a child is one. That's a weird one. The baby with a vaccine going into its forehead. Notable. The boy, or I don't know, being a scary emoji biking off with a baby and a hand reaching after it. Also notable. Various floating eyes. Also, a majority of this, well, not a majority, about half of this is in black and white. And then coming up from the massaged boy and the old man are like a fun little dream like bubble with I called it a toboggan last time and I still can't think of what it's called. A sled. It's a sled and Christmas and a valley with sunshine, an emaciated child, a fracture.
That ain't a fracture, that's a break.
That's a break, yeah, so true. A man hunting large game, and war.
Yeah, that was also fun. That's how you described it originally. So fun. What a fun thought bubble.
Did I? Wow, I'm really good.
Well, confirmed, Haley loves war.
You know me. That's what I do. I just love it. But yeah, those are the notable ones.
So tell us.
And also pretty much everything. I pretty much described all of the
yeah. But I think what might be a fun way to do this is share some, using the graphic.
Yeah.
Outline what you think and what you remember. And then we'll fill in some of the gaps.
Okay. So I remember the boy's name is Jonas because shout out to the Jonas Brothers. I made a joke about it. We'll see if I remember what that joke was. Jonas lives in like a black and white world. I remember you talking about precision of words and
precision of language.
And I'd actually love you to explain that in a little bit because I think you did such a good job explaining that.
I don't remember what I said either, so we'll find out.
We'll find out as we go. But like everybody is very rule followery. Everybody is very like focused on being the same, even in ways that like take away people's agency. And also people can't see color. They're doing jobs and he's the goodest boy, and so he gets picked for a really good job, so it seems, or really a like top secret clearancy job, and then then he has to go work with this old man as like his apprentice, and he is the receiver to his giver, and the receiver receives memories that have been wiped away from the general public, and like not just memories but like feelings and like sensations and sounds, tastes. Maybe?
I think they can taste. It's just that what they're given is super bland. They eat for nutrition and nutrition alone. What a sad life.
The receiver has begun giving these memories and things, and they get taken from him and given to Jonas. And they start off as like cool, good things. And he's like, wow, what is this like life outside of everything? But he also can't talk to anybody about it, including his family. And then he starts getting like bad things, like breaking bones and like death. It's a big jump for Jonas, but that's when he starts realizing that like things can be quite bad.
I think we'll pause there.
I think that's like that's like a majority of what I remember.
Yeah, and honestly,
there's also a baby. Yeah, there's a baby up in here.
A big subplot. But you did a really, really great job at remembering some of the main points.
Thank you.
Which I think will kind of help with some of this because we'll just kind of go around it. Okay, so here's the deal. This society that they're living with, and we're going to call it the community because that's what it's called in the book. There's very strict rules and ways that people are expected to live their lives. So one thing that Haley mentioned was the precision of language. So it's very important that you learn to be precise and accurate. So for example, you would never say I'm starving because they are not starving. They are just hungry in the moment. There's an example of a young child who was struggling with their language when they were 3, and he said, I want a smack instead of a snack. And then he was hit because you got to honor what they asked. That's how he said it. And then he didn't speak for months. So precision of language is very important. And in Jonas's mind, I really related to that because I try to be really precise in my language.
Yeah, me as well.
And it's why I love like vocabulary, because a lot of the times it's him going through thinking, no, that's not the right word. That's not the right word, which I think allows him to pick really specific feelings, which this is a book written for children. Like this is a young middle grade book is the intended audience. So I think that's interesting.
Which is so crazy to me because when you first started describing this, I could not fathom how this would be for a child. But this is not only a dystopian novel, this is the first children's dystopian novel.
It is notable for that. It came out in 1993, and it is purported to be the first dystopian for children.
Yeah.
Then another thing that's big is they have rituals, especially within the family units. So in the morning, they do the telling of dreams, and in the evening, they do the telling of feelings. And it's really seen as a time for the parents to guide children in intellectualization over their feelings. So the young sister, Lily, who I believe is in her 8th, was talking about how she went on a field trip to another part of the community and one of the kids didn't follow the rules and she was so angry that he couldn't do that. And the dad was like, well, did you think that maybe his rules might be different? Have you ever thought about it this way and what might have happened? And she's like, no, I didn't. That makes sense. And I understand that now. So it's a way for them to kind of grow.
Empathize without having really, I guess, less empathize and more intellectualize their feelings.
Because as we'll learn, empathy is not a thing these people have. And at the front, it seems really innocent.
Yeah. When you told me about this the first time, I was like, I don't know, this community sounds kind of nice.
Yeah.
Like,
and
I already get together and force people to listen to my dreams, so it basically is already what I'm doing.
And another thing that's really nice too is there's a lot of rules around rudeness. You never want to be rude. So for example, you don't ask questions about things that might be different for other people. You don't really ask about their job or something that might be happened because it's rude to pry into people's lives. There's standard apology phrases. So if you do mess up, there's a very specific way you have to apologize, and everybody says, thank you for your apology. There's no bragging because no one is supposed to be above another, which on its base feels really, really nice because everybody is seen at the same level.
Yeah.
And another thing too is there's no lying, no secrets. There's no locked doors anywhere.
I think my issue, like theoretically, all of this sounds lovely, but I am too much of a nosy Nelly for this community. Like, I do think they would maybe hate me.
That's fair, but I think how much of that is conditioned is like
to be a nosy Nelly?
Not a nosy Nelly, but I think the way we grew up was to ask questions and to learn to create our perspectives. That is what is not very explicitly not taught. The opposite is taught.
That's true.
And it's not saying that they're not questioning, because there is a character, Asher, who's his best friend, who is clumsy and he makes a lot of mistakes and he's kind of all over the place. And, and people see him as, oh, Asher.
Classic Asher.
Classic Asher. But that happens, but he still falls in line because that's how he's grown up. It's what he's always known. It's what everybody's always known.
I gotta say, as somebody who has known multiple Ashers through her life, that is spot on. Every Asher I've ever known has been like, ugh, you little scamp. Like,
now, another part of this is everything is done through application. You have no personal choice. So, for example, when you grow older and you want to have a spouse or a partner, you have to apply for that. And there is a very extensive matchmaking done by the Committee of Elders. And they're pretty much the people who make all of the decisions. And they match people based off of their compatibility that they've seen, because there's a file on everybody, I guess.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot, and I mentioned this too, this reminds me of Anthem a little bit.
Yes, which I have not read. I don't know that one.
It will probably be a second chance book because
I
haven't read it in ages.
So another thing too is once you're matched with a spouse, if you ever want to have children, you also have to apply. And when that happens, everybody can have one boy and one girl. No more, maybe less, but it's typically if you get a family unit, you get 2 children.
Yeah.
And this is something that's the only way they get to live in the family dwellings is once they get a partner. Other than that, you typically live in the work dormitories attached to whatever you're assigned to. And then once your children go older, you go and live in the childless adult community, which honestly sounds kind of like a party. I was about to make another joke, but then I was like, that's not what they do, because another rule too is you can't look upon each other's nakedness. So the only exception there is for the care of new children and elderly.
Yeah.
So your spousal partner is literally only there to help you parent children. They're not someone who you have any intimacy with. That is not a part of this community in any way, shape, or form. They don't kiss. They don't do anything.
I don't know. That's a plot hole. There's something missing.
No, there's not, which we'll get to. Later. Another thing too is we mentioned the nutrition. You only eat the food that is provided for you during the allotted time. There's people who come drop your trays off outside your door in the mornings. They come and clean it up. And they do it every mealtime. There's some snacks available, but you don't really use them a ton. You can't. So for example, Jonas gets in trouble one time because he put an apple in his pocket at the rec center and then took it home, and he got publicly shamed over the announcements.
Jonas, you can't be doing that with
and then, also, so one of the reasons why they don't have any intimacy is as soon as you are old enough in puberty to start having those kinds of feelings, like for Jonas, it showed up for him. He kind of had a dream about his friend Fiona where he was like, I don't know.
We could hold the hand.
She was kind of cute and it made my tummy feel funny. And his parents were like,
crimes.
we're going to have a chat. It's time for the pill. The pill being the stirrings pill, which essentially turns off your sexual desires. And that's one of the reasons why you start to learn how everything is so clinical. All relationships are clinical and surface level here.
It's so interesting, too, because to see the way it makes big dystopian, like, themes so, like, child-centered, because, like, I'm thinking, like, Brave New World, like Aldous Huxley, the Orwellian 1984 themes.
You never get that through the eyes of a child, ever.
And that's what I think is so cool about this, because it really, I mean, of course, there's Hunger Games now, and there's more and more of that, I think, probably as times become
Katniss
more dire.
Older.
That's true.
And divergent. A lot of those, they're in their late teens, 16-ish. And we'll get to that. Jonas is much younger in the book.
That's true. He's like 14.
No, he is in his 11s at the beginning of the book. So he is a young child.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I think that makes this book stand out. There's one other big thing, or I guess a couple others. But one that is very plot relevant is releasing, which is referenced all the time when people leave the community. And there's a few different ways that you can be released. One is when you're elderly and you have a time of celebration with a ceremony of life where they tell a story of your life. Then they recycle your name for the new children who are going through their one ceremony, and then they're released. There's new children when they're not growing as expected, and there's not the uniformity they're expecting. There's also a 3 strikes you're out. If you fuck up too many times, you go to court and you're like on your thing
released, quote,
and you're released.
Unquote.
And you can also apply for a release, which we do learn about an example of that later in the book. And then some other jobs that I think are pretty relevant is Jonas's dad. He is a nurturer. That is someone who works in the New Child Center. So any child who is less than 1 year of age, he cares for them in the nurturing center. His mother is a judge in the court system, so she's someone who would do the strikes, and they kind of talk about it there.
Are they like an important family?
No,
they're
not.
Well, I guess everyone's kind of equal.
The only people who are seen and known about to be really important is like the Council of Elders, who kind of makes the rules and they kind of choose different things.
The council.
Exactly. And the chief elder, and they're elected every 10 years, probably by the council, and they're the leader of the community. And one job in particular that is seen as really lowly is the job of birth mother. And this is really seen as a job given to young girls who don't have an aptitude for other things. So you birth exactly 3 products over a 3-year period. And during that time, they pamper you. You don't work. You don't do exercise. You get special meals, and it's a really off your feet time. And then after those 3, you are sent off to hard labor for the rest of your life, like the farms and hard work.
Insane. And to obviously treat women like livestock in any book. I mean, it's a dystopian novel, so it's supposed to illustrate like the worst of things, but also having it in a kid book is so...
and I mean, what I just shared with you too is about all you know, or all Jonas knows about it.
I think too, it's really like the concept of them being women who don't have like high aptitude and things like that.
I'm not saying that they don't necessarily have aptitude. They might just not have one
skill set.
They might not have a specific skill set that matches exactly with it too. And you're always going to need birth mothers.
100%.
You can't not have them. And so they might, because another thing that's really interesting here is there's only 50 children born a year. Exactly 50 children born a year. So those jobs that they might need and be recycled, maybe somebody else in that lot fits something better, or maybe all the jobs right now are full. You got a couple extra girls. Yeah. They become birth mothers.
It just makes my skin crawl.
It is really gross. Yeah. And we do learn in another one of the books a bit more of what this looks like, and it is chilling. Yeah. It's my favorite part of the whole series, but that's not The Giver. The last thing I want to touch on, and then we'll get and dive into the plot, is the ceremonies. Now, this is a tradition that happens every year over 2 days, and it is the most important time of the community. Everybody comes together. Everyone is silent and attentive, except for very few times, like when a name is recycled from someone, an elderly who was released. Their name is
who was
given.
Sent off to pasture.
Yeah. And it's always done in the same order. And one thing that's special, too, is you might have noticed the way I reference it. I'm not saying Jonas is 11. He's in his 11s.
Yeah.
Because birthdays are not celebrated. Until the next ceremony, everybody is considered the same age. Everybody's birthday is the day of the ceremony.
Every kid from the same
So, for example,
birth.
When the children are given to their matched families, they are named, and some of them are infants, and some of them are starting to walk.
Yeah. They're in their ones.
Exactly. And then they all become one that year. So the first thing
we become one.
So the first ceremony is the matching of spouses. So they match partners. So if you applied to be a partner, you would get matched with a spouse is the very first ceremony. Then the next ceremony is the ceremony of ones.
Give you your child.
Yes. And you can't be matched with a spouse and then immediately go to that, because there's like some people are on the list, they apply and they're on the list waiting for a spouse for years. Or waiting for a child for years.
That these people weren't like matching themselves.
No, they do not match.
Like randomized.
No, they're not randomized. Everything is very calculated. The council, they pick people who they know will complement and work well together, and then they match them. And then when they have shown that they have been doing well, you can apply to be a parent.
I like the idea of them matching like Omegle style. Like you just
is giving
matched together.
What's that one reality show where you do the compatibility test and then they put you together?
Oh, is that Are You the One?
Is it Are You the One? It could be. Because I think Are You the One? And then they say, you have your perfect match in here. Find them. Good luck.
Maybe. So anyways, back to Dystopian.
Now, there are 11 more ceremonies from the age of 2 through 12. I have shared all of these with you the last podcast.
Correct.
And now Haley's turn is to see, can you remember in order what happens at each of the ceremonies?
There's 12, right?
Technically 13. So let's start with the ceremony of twos.
When you get like your clothes?
Yes, they get their first set of topian.
Yes!
Okay.
I'm so good.
3.
No, that's not haircut. They get their hair ribbons?
There's more that happens. That is one of them.
Okay.
And
they get their hair ribbons and their name? I don't remember.
You get your name and your comfort object, which we'll refer to later. Oh, okay. The comfort object, you get that at 1 because you're a child. You get your name and your comfort object.
And your comfort object is like
imaginary.
Yeah,
like a hippo or an elephant.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what else happens at 3s is that's when their tradition of dream telling begins. So you have to start participating. You have to start participating in the rituals. And then also at 3 is when you really start school. You might go to your caretaking.
Right. But
at 3 is when the acquisition of language begins.
Okay.
Now 4.
4 is jacket.
What's special about this jacket?
It buttons in the back because you're learning to work as a team and a society. So you can't button your own jacket. You have to have somebody button your jacket with you.
Exactly. So they can learn interdependence. Now, number 5.
Bicycle.
Bigger jacket.
Fuck.
Number 6.
Bigger jacket.
Even bigger jacket.
Buttons in the front?
Not yet. 7.
Biggest jacket, buttons in the front.
You get your front buttons.
Yeah!
But something else happens with their jacket. What else do they get? Not just front buttons, but what else?
A hoodie. I don't know.
No, pockets.
Pockets, because you have to be in charge of your trinket.
Exactly. It shows that you're mature enough to keep track of your own small belongings so they can start to carry things around. Now, 8.
Haircut?
No.
Fuck.
And this is the age of Lily, Jonas's sister, at the beginning of the book. And this is when your comfort object is taken away and recycled with the
That's what it
ones.
is. I was like, because I also thought it was something having to do with a comfort object, but I was like, they don't get a new one, do they?
No, it's
they
taken
lose it.
and then it's
their
recycled.
Ribbons, right?
Not
yet.
That's
but 14?
We don't go to 14, Queen. It goes to 12. But another thing that happens at 8 is
I've decided.
their volunteer hours begin. So instead of just having school and then rec time, you have to get a certain amount of volunteer hours between now and a certain ceremony.
It's just like the National Honor Society.
And essentially, this is a time where children can go and try out all of the different assignments, and it allows for the council to see where you might shine and have some aptitude.
Yeah, what your potential is.
Exactly. Now, 9, 2 things happen.
Bike.
You get your bike.
That's the one that I kept guessing every time.
And it's also so funny.
Like, they gotta have a bike. There's no way they're getting around.
I want to tell you guys.
Have cars?
No, only bikes. Bikes and boats. I mean, there are cars.
Bikes and boats?
There's one boat. Nobody gets in the boat. It delivers supplies. But there are some cars for delivering supplies, but they're not seen in the community. There's only like certain points to transfer things from one community to the next. Very rarely seen. They know what cars are, but they're more like trucks.
They're like things to transport.
Think about
other stuff.
From the way I envisioned it was like, what's not the Jungle Cruise, but the safari one at Disney World?
Oh yeah.
I think I'm just thinking about like a military Jeep.
Yeah, I was like, that's just a Jeep, I think.
Okay.
Your safari van?
Yes.
They have a Sienna van, just like a tan Sienna.
I have no clue. I'm making this shit
a
up.
Sprinter van.
But with the bicycle, what's really fun, nobody's allowed to ride a bike until you get yours at your ceremony of 9s. But it is kind of one of those rules that everyone breaks because the kids want to learn and they're so excited. So the older siblings will teach their younger siblings how to ride. And they try to like sneak around and everybody kind of knows it's happening, but they just turn their eyes. And you did make a really funny joke that we kept referring to, and that's you push them off the bike.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was a good one.
I do think we need to I think we need to write a dystopian novel, and I want to think of the most stupid things we could have them wheeling around on. Segway. No, what are the things?
Hoverboard.
Oh, the hoverboard. The true future begins.
That's the tagline.
No one's.
We have to cut this out.
Book club.
We can't let them know.
That. Book club, don't take it. I'm so serious.
The other thing that happens though, which you have mentioned, they get their bike. And what else happens for the girlies?
They get a bell. No, I'm joking. They get their hair ribbons taken away.
Yes, their hair ribbons are removed for the girls.
Yeah.
Then
sad.
At the ceremony of 10, this is the longest of all the ceremonies.
Haircut.
This is the haircut. Everybody gets their standard community haircut. The boys
Buzz
get it
cut, like the army.
Nice and short, and the girls also have short hair.
A bob. I hope they have the most fuck ass bob. And they get to do the little head swivel thing.
I'm sure that's what they do.
Yeah.
Okay, then
that's what they deserve at least. After they get their hair ribbons taken away.
That would be, they got a whole year with no ribbon.
I think also personally, I would be so sad to get my hair ribbons taken away. Like, I feel like
let me tell
so
you,
cutie pie.
Our girl Lily was so excited because that girl couldn't keep her ribbons in to save her life.
You know what? That's so true. They probably don't have bobby pins here. I don't think I'd be good at keeping track of ribbons.
So what do you think happens at 11?
Ribbons are back. They start like an apprenticeship?
No.
Fuck. Is that 12?
I'm not telling you. We're not there yet.
Oh my gosh.
No, the girls get their undergarments and the boys get their long trousers.
It's their chonies
no
ceremony.
Shorts for the boys anymore.
Chonies.
Okay, then 12.
They start an apprenticeship?
They get their assignments.
I'm
So
so good.
12 is the most important of all of the ceremonies. It's seen as the end of childhood at 12 years old.
You're an adult now.
And
have you seen Now That You're 10? Did they do that at your school?
What?
Now That You're 10? You never did that?
What is it? I mean,
so Now That You're 10, they'd have like, maybe this is just my school, but they'd have a cop and talk about all the things you could get arrested for and tried for as an adult now that you're 10. So imagine me with full-fledged OCD being like, Mom, it's school.
Is this when your fear of doing a secret crime?
Doing a secret crime has started.
An accidental secret crime?
Because the cop was like, even if you accidentally hurt someone, if they say ow and they decide to like charge you on it, you can be arrested and tried as an adult. And
is that true?
Probably not. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. Tune in next episode. We have a lawyer. We have a lawyer and a cop, and they tell us what happens when you're 10.
Good. I'll pass. So back to 12.
They get charged with the crime.
So, you get your assignment. So over the years from 8 to 12, they are observed and you are given, the assignment that best matches you. And now what's special about this is it's the only time in anyone's lives where they are celebrated for their differences. Now, another thing too is after this, age no longer matters to anybody or is tracked. They're like, you got through your ceremonies and now you're a worker. You go to your trainings and then you become a worker. And it depends on what your job is. Some people's training takes weeks. Some people's trainings take years and they do higher education. Now, this is where we're going to start getting into the story. Some people to note, important people. I've mentioned Mom, Dad, Lily. I've mentioned Asher. And there's one other character who's really important, and that is Gabe. Now,
Gabe.
Gabe is a new child, and he is not doing well. This boy loves to cry, and he likes to cry all night long.
Me too.
And that
Me too, Gabe.
is not allowed because why? It's annoying.
And we, as a society, hate annoying things, especially children who are in our way until they have their hair ribbons out and they get bikes. And what do we do with them?
Push them down.
Push them down.
So what Jonas's dad decides to do is he applies for a special permit to bring Gabe home each night, just to give him a little extra care to see if that kind of helps him grow and settle.
Yeah, to give him some cuddles and a song.
Yeah.
Little Gabe.
And one thing that's really funny is everybody in the family had to sign a pledge that said that they would not become attached to Gabe and that when it was time to give him up for his ceremony, they would let him go with no qualms.
I pinky promise I'll let this baby go. I won't foster fail this baby.
And another thing too, is that eventually we kind of learn that they have to apply for another thing for Gabe, an extension. So by the time the next year rolls around, he's still really struggling to sleep. So Jonas's dad applies for an extension so he can have one more year to see if that helps him grow a little bit more. So he does not.
Is that stigmatized? Like if someone gets like held back a year? Like are people like, you're too old, you can't be?
No, I think it only matters after you're a little bit older because not many people are held back, but they're giving him one more year to see if that helps him a little bit more.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So now picture this. You're Jonas. You're sitting down for your ceremony. You're so excited. You've been waiting for weeks and you're like, I just don't know what I'm going to get. You know, I've tried a bunch of things. Nothing really felt exactly like what I wanted, but I'm excited. Now, the other thing too is Jonas is going into it and he's not really worried about what he's going to get. He's excited, but he is worried for his friend Asher, who's been a kind of dunce this whole time. Yeah. He's like, this boy has been a mess. What the heck are you going to get?
Classic Asher.
But Asher does go up and he gets the assistant director of recreation. And Jonas, he's so excited for his friend. He claps. He's happy. And then it gets to the person before him. They go up and it's his turn. And they skip him and they go to the next.
I'd be sweating freaking bullets.
Everyone around Jonas is like, what?
Gagorama.
Everybody is looking around like, what the hell? But it's a silent ceremony. Nobody's allowed to talk. You just have to sit there. And Jonas has to sit. And this whole time, there's 50 children. He's number 19. So he has to sit through 30 more children just pondering.
I'm not made for that.
Pondering. Like, he's sick. What did I do wrong?
I would cry. I would sob.
And he can't figure it out. Everyone around him is looking at him with these pitying looks. And then at the end of the ceremony, the chief elder goes, hey, y'all, I know that was kind of stressful, right? Sorry I did that. Jonas, come on up here.
Psych.
So Jonas comes up and he's like, wants to pass out. And the chief elder essentially goes, I know that was really stressful, but Jonas is being chosen for something special.
He's gonna form a boy band.
But essentially goes, I know that this was really hard and we had to be so particular with who we chose because after the last person failed, we had to make sure that this one stuck because this is so important and it's such an honor for Jonas to be getting this and he will become the next keeper of memory. And then everybody like chants for him and Jonas just doesn't quite know what it is, but he does feel honored, a little confused, but honored. Then after the ceremony, everybody is given essentially this folder that has information for their training. And Jonas's is a single page that is 10 rules for his training. And the rules go kind of like this. Go straight to training from school and straight home when done. You are exempt from the rules of rudeness and can ask any question and receive an answer. You are not allowed to discuss your training with anyone. You are exempt from the sharing of dreams, and you cannot take any medicine other than for a physical injury or illness, nothing related to your training. You cannot apply for release, and now you are allowed to lie. So Jonas gets this list, and he's like, computer, what the fuck is this? Because everybody else has like stuff to do.
Yeah.
All it says is go to this place. That's kind of hidden around the corner.
And now you can lie.
Yeah. So it's really interesting the next day because he goes and he's seeing all his friends go off to their stuff. And he's just kind of being like, I think I know where I'm going. But it's around the back from the elders' plate, like where they take care of the old. House of the old.
The Moose Lodge.
Yes. And he gets kind of buzzed in to the this old man's house. And he goes in there and it's this old gnarled man. And Jonas is like, gee, mister, you sure look old. And he's like, I'm actually not that old. It's just the pain and suffering of this job that has altered my physical state.
Listen, who hasn't been there? I found multiple gray hairs and I'm like, this is how it begins.
Yeah, you're haunted by the past.
Yeah.
And another special thing about this dwelling is it has a lock. You can turn off the listening comms because apparently there's a speaker in every house where they can listen to you.
It is so hard. And I said this last time. I cannot seem to fathom what this society looks like. Like, sometimes I'm picturing M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. And then other times I'm picturing, I don't know, there's some Tobey Maguire movie where everything's black and white for a second. I'm picturing that, and it's like all 50s themed. And sometimes I'm picturing The Host.
I love The Host. That will be a book later.
But yeah, I cannot like picture what the society looks like. So the fact that they don't have cars, they're just like all going around on bikes, but they have listening comms everywhere. I'm like, what is this?
Well, and another thing too that's like special about it is it's full of this antique furniture. Like everything looks unique. It's not the same. And there's so many books. He's never seen this many books. They can read and they have books, but it's only textbooks and specific types of nonfiction.
Like learning and language acquisition.
Exactly.
These are like books, right?
And we find out that the job of the keeper of memory is you as one singular person are forced to hold all of human memory alone by
That's how ADHD
re-experiencing
feels.
them. And with that, you gain wisdom that you use to guide the council of elders. And the reason why they chose to have one person be the keeper is that even though there is beauty, there is so much pain and suffering. And that's just too much for people. That's too much. So
I also, and like maybe it's just me reading into it, but I think if like people have these memories and people have these things to fight for or things to fight against, people will be more likely to feel big things. People will be more likely to rise up against a system. Yeah.
And one thing they talk about too is that in order to have this ease, you sacrifice so much. Like, is it worth it to give all of it up?
And I kind of wonder too if that's why someone who was so like golden boy was chosen for this role, because you fit so much into the system.
And it has to work.
Yeah. It will also just, you fit so much into the system, you're less likely to go against it, even with all of these memories.
Possibly.
Because you're so...
Or he just has the special light eyes.
Yeah, or he has...
And he can have the gift.
Whatever.
I don't know. That could be.
Yeah.
Could be. And one thing that Jonas is, as he's doing it, he's kind of seen like this gives you some power in the community. And I just thought it was a really interesting conversation, because the giver goes, this isn't power. I don't have the power to change things. I have the honor to be heard. So he can't make decisions, but he's given special privileges.
Yeah.
And they will listen to him. That's not the same as having power.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting. But the giver himself is both happy and sad to be sharing this job and this burden with Jonas, because for the first time in 10 years, he has someone to share it with. But he knows that Jonas is going to suffer in a way that no one other than himself could ever comprehend, and he can't even talk about it with anyone else. They only have each other now, and that is so lonely.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how sad
to be surrounded by people that could never understand what you're going through.
I sometimes wonder if that's how like people who know so many of like the global things, like the things that we're not supposed to know about. Like,
I'm not meant for that.
I'm also not meant for that.
I'm meant for maybe a conspiracy theory or two, but not all the trouble. That's why I got to turn off the TikTok or whatever. I'm like, I don't think humans are meant
to know everything.
To know everything. It's too much.
That's my common critique of like being so online, and I don't think it's like a hot take or anything. I think most people feel this way, but like we know so much, and we hold so much, and you see some of the most beautiful things, but you also see some of the most horrendous things. And I do think to some degree, like once you have that knowledge, you are more heard.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a lot of it comes with the impact of you suffering, at least to some degree, of like knowing so much about, you know, what's happening in Palestine, or like things happening overseas. Like, what an honor it is to be able to like
stand up,
bear
and
witness
advocate,
and stand up and advocate, but also
know there's nothing you can truly
trying to
figure
out what you as an individual can do. And I think, I don't know, like giving a voice to that feeling to kids so young is so interesting and powerful and sad.
Yeah. And now Jonas too was told that this job was going to be painful, but he doesn't understand it. And for the first kind of whole year of this time, he's starting to understand. And the way that the memories are transferred is through the giver will place his hands on Jonas's bare back, and then he can transfer the memories from himself into him. But we do learn some interesting things that have been eliminated from the community. So, for example, all weather, essentially. So Jonas doesn't know what snow is or sunshine is. The first memory he ever receives is that of a snow on a hill with a red sled that he gets to go down a hill and sled for the very first time. He also learns what sunshine is. He's never felt the sun on his skin, which I don't understand how that works.
Yeah.
But pop off,
maybe,
I guess.
Maybe it's always cloudy. They control the weather.
Which I don't understand how. But
I think it's like probably one of those of like the society lives in like
a dome.
You know what? Maybe.
But that we'll find out that doesn't make sense.
All sorts of technology. That,
there's a lot of plot holes.
That's fair.
Not gonna lie. But sometimes you don't need. Children aren't gonna think that hard.
That's fair.
Another thing too is all color. Everyone sees in shades of gray, and the reason why Jonas is for sure able to do this is he started to see beyond. How it started to manifest for him was seeing the color red.
Mm-hmm.
So the very first time he had an apple and he was playing catch with his friend Asher back and forth, and he saw it start to turn a different color, and that's why he got in trouble for stealing the apple.
That'd be so scary.
Well, he even was like, did you see that? And Asher was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Another thing is that all animals, except for fish, because they do have a fish hatchery, that's how they get all of their protein essentially, but there's no bugs. No birds, no pets, any of that. And that's why all the comfort objects are seen as imaginary animals.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also no pain. There's only the smallest of discomforts. So when the first time Jonas truly feels pain and he realizes, oh shit, I see what they mean, is the giver gave him a memory of breaking a leg. And when he woke from that memory, the pain stayed in his body. He experienced it firsthand and it stayed with him, and he was begging for medicine. And the giver was like, it's related to your training. Mm-hmm. I cannot give you anything to relieve this. And he had to sit and feel it and wait until it finally dissipated. And learning for the first time in your life what true pain is, how scary that must be.
Yeah.
You cannot imagine it. But Jonas is starting to really struggle with the fact that why don't we get these beautiful things like color and weather? Like it sucks. I want to pick the color of my clothes. I want to pick what I eat. I want to pick my people. And the giver brings up that sometimes people can make the wrong choices. Mm-hmm. Is doing that worth the possibility of fighting or war or whatever? And Jonas does at that point start to think, well, maybe we do need to protect people from making the wrong choices. Then as it goes on longer, Jonas starts to just feel so truly lonely because he's the only person who knows or understands the beauty and pain of humanity. For example, when he learns of war, he's genuinely gets PTSD. And when he sees some of the kids playing war,
because doesn't he because he experiences it, he doesn't just see it, right?
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. He feels it, he sees it, he hears it all.
Yeah.
And then he sees young children playing war. They don't know what that is, but they're like pretending to shoot guns. They don't know. I don't understand how they can play this if they don't know what it is. That doesn't make sense to me. Plot hole. But he genuinely has a panic attack and like begs Asher, who is now training to be the assistant director, to not have kids play that anymore. And he's like, shut up, you ruined it. Like we're just having fun. Leave us alone. Well, you're being weird. But then he also learns about Christmas and learns what love is. And when he goes home and he asks his parents, do you love me? They get on to him for not having precision of language. They essentially say that love is an obsolete word. It's meaningless. We don't love you, but we're proud of you. We care about you, but love, they don't know what that is. Yeah. And so it doesn't mean anything to them. And he's so isolated.
Yeah, imagine feeling love and then going and not being able to feel it from anyone.
The people who are supposed to more than anything.
Yeah.
I feel too that it feels like his whole life before this is like a lie.
Yeah.
You know? He got
Truman
Show.
Truman Show. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what it feels like.
No, and like it was also like such an empty life, and it's.
But you think it's fulfilling until you get a taste of anything else, and you're like, oh shit. And one of the things too is Jonas does get the courage to ask about the last receiver, and we learn that she became too burdened by the painful memories, and only after 5 weeks of training, and Jonas learns this about a year in, that after 5 weeks of training, she applied for release. And what happened is that when she was released, the memories that she held were released to the general public. And she had been given a lot of those painful memories. So the whole entire community went up in a panic and chaos.
Yeah.
And so that after that, they were like, oh no, this job is more important than ever. And the Givers really struggles with this because
did they like brain swipe them to get them to go away?
I think they kind of brushed it under the rug, and the Giver was there to kind of help them move forward.
Can he like take memories out of people?
I don't know. They don't talk about that, but he kind of helps them and calms them, and they eventually forget about it because they, again, don't have context. I think they just saw it as like a moment of psychosis.
Weird dream.
Yeah, or dream. But he starts to see he's like, that was like his daughter, and Jonas is now like his son, and Jonas sees him more as family than anyone else.
Yeah.
And one quote that comes up that I thought was so beautiful is, without memories, it's all meaningless.
Yeah.
Like, who are we without memories to give us context?
Yeah, to teach us what is important to us.
Yeah. So what starts to shift, truly shift, is when Jonas learns what release is. So a set of twins is delivered, and Jonas's dad is charged with helping with the release of one of them because you can't have two of the same people. Duh. That's not how it works. And that would give him 51 kids.
There can only be one.
So his dad has to release them, and then the next day Jonas goes in and he's like, yeah, this is what happened to my dad. And the Giver goes, God, I hate release. I wish they wouldn't do that. And Jonas is like, huh?
What do you mean?
What do you mean by that? And the Giver goes, do you want to see it? Do you want to know what it is? And Jonas is like, well, no, they just get sent out of the community. And and he's like, also, it's a private ceremony. You can't watch that. And the Giver goes, remember, part of your training is you can ask any question and get an answer. I'll ask again.
People can't lie.
Do you want to watch the video? And he goes, yes. And so Jonas watches the video, and he sees his father bring in 2 twins, weighs them, picks the bigger one, hands it off, and then gets a syringe, takes the slightly smaller one, and puts a syringe through its vein, and he watches the baby die, and then get wrapped up in a box and sent down a chute. And he is shocked and repulsed. Yeah. He has a full meltdown, like screaming, crying, I can't go back. How could he do this?
And you said this was this your moment that, like,
as a child, this blew my mind. As an adult, you get it, and you're like, they're killing these people.
Yeah.
But as a child, when I read that and I realized that they were killing them, I was so shocked. My flabbers were gasted. And then you actually learn more about the last receiver. And Giver shares her name was Rosemary. And when he learned of her release, Jonas originally had said, well, she just couldn't do it. She wasn't brave enough. But I'm brave enough. I can do it. And then when he was talking about it, the Giver responds and shares this. You suggested, Jonas, that perhaps she wasn't brave enough. I don't know about bravery, what it is, what it means. I do know that I sat here numb with horror, wretched with helplessness, and I listened as Rosemary told them that she would prefer to inject herself. Yeah,
she was like Jonas's age, right? So she was like 11.
I don't think that fully, maybe, until you just said that, I'm not going to lie, that did not click. Guys, this is a child who is less than 13, 5 weeks after her ceremony. Yeah. She is in her 12th year of life. And she's like, this is too hard. I'd rather kill myself. Yeah. And then a 12-year-old child does it themselves.
Yeah.
I'm just, what do you say?
Yeah. It just like, I don't know. I do think too that like young people are so willing to do the things that are brave and the things that are hard more often than we give them credit for. Like, I think of so many people who were advocates and started advocating at such a young age, or like even kids that advocate for each other, and like the idea of a child doing.
Well, and what does this say about trauma, passing down trauma to children and them experiencing this pain and the loneliness of that without the ability to share that and taking on that burden at that young of age?
Yeah.
And was it brave?
It's a very distilled portrait of the trauma that we pass on to kids, like as a society.
Yeah.
And not giving them, you're right, like the outlet to be able to process that, to be able to talk about that, to be able to handle that.
Absolutely
insane. Both good and bad.
So after all of this, Jonas can't handle the knowledge. He's now in his 13th year, so he's about 13, 14 years old.
Do we know how old the giver is? Did they say that?
It doesn't say exactly. It just says he looks much older than he really is. So
29.
No clue. But after this, Jonas can't handle it. He can't go home, so he stays at the giver's dwelling.
Yeah.
And the giver reminds him, like, hey, they can't help it. You can't be mad at them. Feelings are not part of the life that they've learned. They don't know any better. You cannot hold this against him. Because he's like, how? My dad knew this whole time what it was, and he's just been doing it. But that's just what they're taught. Yeah. And they don't feel.
How empathetic. The don't blame them. They don't know any better.
So Jonas gets and he's like, we cannot hold this on our own. This is too much. It's like, you sharing this with me, your life is becoming better. You are feeling better. Why can't we share this with everyone? And the giver's like, well, that's not what the people want. But eventually, over time, the giver does agree with Jonas, and they come up with a plan to get Jonas out of the community so that Jonas can be free and the memories will be released, and the giver can help them cope with that. And then the pain can finally be shared. But Jonas wants the giver to come with him, but he says, I have to stay and help the people deal with the memories just like I was here for you. And he even says that once his job of helping people is over, he wants to join his daughter. And that broke my heart.
That one, yeah.
So now we're going to cut back a little bit to a different story. And this is where we're going to go back to Gabe. So throughout this whole time, too, Jonas is going home and Gabe has still been struggling. He's constantly waking and crying in the night. But Jonas is like, after the mom is tired, Lily is tired of it. He says, put him in my room. Put him in my room.
Yeah.
And one night while Gabe is crying, he goes up to him and he's like, he has light eyes, too. Puts his hand on his back and he thinks of a time of swaying on a sailboat, beautiful and calm, and he starts to transfer the memory. And we learn that once a memory is given, it's gone.
Yeah.
Okay. But Gabe does calm and stop crying. And so they go through this every single night of Jonas calming Gabe to sleep, and he starts to sleep through the night. So the whole family thinks he's fine.
Yeah.
So the dad takes him back to the nurturing center. And he cries through the night. And so even him and everyone else vote, it's time to release Gabe. And they're going to do it tomorrow.
My son!
Exactly.
My little boy.
So it's 2 months before the ceremonies when they originally agreed to have the preparations ready. And Jonas is like, I can't let this happen. I cannot let this happen.
I'm stealing back my boy.
Exactly. So he takes Gabe, he hides some food, and they run. He doesn't get to say goodbye. So he even leaves, doesn't get to say goodbye to the giver.
I can't, I know that that's part of their plan, but I can't imagine how much that must hurt.
Yeah.
To lose another one.
It's pretty rough. So they run and they are biking and the people are looking for them. Planes are constantly flying over trying to find him. And he's like, well, we got to be careful. They travel at night, so they can't find him. But what if they have heat-seeking technology? So every night, which, number one, crazy that he's like, maybe they have heat-seeking technology.
He saw war.
He puts memories of cold into their bodies every night, so their body temperatures drop. And then eventually, as he's going, the land starts to change. There's hills, the weather grows colder, and he sees birds and animals for the very first time, and he's starting to see some of this beauty, but he's starting to get tired. He's hungry, and now he's like, I am starving. Their food runs out. It starts to snow. And then he doesn't know if he can keep going. But what does keep him going is knowing that he is the only person who can help Gabe and can keep him alive.
He's a big brother.
Exactly. So he pushes through, and he's literally at this point just barely crawling along at the end of his strength. And then he climbs to the top of this snow-covered hill. And wouldn't you believe? What does he find? A red sled.
Mm-hmm.
Just like his very first memory that he was given. And then he hears it. He hears something ahead of him. And we learn that the community never had music, but he starts to hear music and people singing. And as he gets on the sled and starts to go down, he starts to lose consciousness. And the very last sentence of the book is behind him, across vast distances of space and time. From the place he had left, he thought he heard music too, but perhaps it was only an echo. The end. Now for me, I thought that meant they died.
Yeah.
I thought that hoe was dead.
Yeah. I also thought he died.
Now, Lois Lowry herself states that she never saw that as a sad ending.
Mm-hmm.
She thought it as incredibly optimistic. As a reader, that felt deep, dark, and desolate. I did not get it.
I think also because so much of it is already so dark and heavy that, like, you're like, oh my God, there's no way he could be alive. Like, he just went through so much.
But also, he's losing consciousness, and he's... You're trying to help get me to believe that the very first memory he ever received of a red, like, sled on a snow-covered hill is the last thing he sees on his escape. On what planet? On what planet? I guess Lois Lowry's planet. I guess.
You leave my girl Lois alone. She did a great job, and she had some banging quotes.
Well, apparently I'm in the same camp as a lot of 12-year-old boys, because apparently they also thought it was a sad ending, and apparently they all did research on hypothermia and were like, yeah, hypothermia, he should have died. But yeah. Now, one thing that's really funny, too, about Lois is that she actually, even... When she did this, when the movie originally came out, which would have been
2014?
Yeah, I
looked it up when we started this podcast because I was trying to find out more about Lois Lowry.
So one thing that she does is every day she checks her email and she personally responds to all the people who email her about her book.
Queen, I will be emailing soon. Please look for my correspondence.
And she does talk about how the question she gets asked the most is what inspired you to come up with this book.
Yeah.
And she, which I thought was a banger of a quote, is like, even though I am tired, after the 10,000th time I'm asked this question, I have to remind myself that this is the first time this child has asked it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really beautiful and reflective.
I think her characters reflect a lot of the same empathy.
Yeah.
I wonder if she sees herself in some of these characters as well.
Yeah. Well, speaking of seeing yourself, what inspired the book and from what she remembers when she wrote it was her father at the time was losing his memory as he was growing older. So, for example, he didn't have any of the bad memories, like from when he was in World War II, he's a veteran, or when his other daughter died and she would have to remind him about those things. And it got Lois thinking about what would become of a people or society without memories.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the original thought.
And I thinking like what it feels like to hold a memory for someone. And I remember thinking when you told me this originally, the process of someone losing their memory as someone's holding that memory for them.
Yeah.
And the losing your memory and giving it to somebody.
Yeah. The stories we tell.
Yeah.
And another thing, too, the way scientifically memory works is every time you remember, it changes and you lose something.
Yeah.
Memory is fleeting.
But even, I always think of the quote, too, of like, you really die twice. You die when you die.
Yeah.
And then,
when your physical body
when your
dies.
physical body dies.
And
then you die when the memory of you fades from people's minds. And
I think that's really beautiful because sometimes when I get existential, it's like,
it happens.
Because sometimes you feel so small.
Yeah.
And then you think of how you can influence and this is one of the reasons why I usually try to stay optimistic or stay positive when I start to get in a bad mood is I might be having the worst day of my life, but this person I met at the store.
Yeah.
They don't know that.
Yeah.
They could be having a rough day or having a great day. And that one interaction with them could change it in a snap. Like, what do I want to do? What do I want to leave behind?
Well,
do I want
that's
to make someone happy, or do I want to ruin their fucking day?
That's like Lois Lowry, though, of like when she was saying, you know, I've answered this question a million times, but this person has only asked it one time. Yeah, just what a privilege it is to be so small.
Yeah. But I just think it's really cool. And another thing as well is when the movie started to go into production, one of the quotes she was saying when she was talking about it is that when you begin to observe that kind of rule, like you see in the beginning of The Giver, that's orderly and easy, you begin to realize that something is desperately lacking. So in creating that safe and stable society, they obliterated any personal choice.
Yeah.
But the people will never know. And Jonas and the Giver are the only people who ever realized, and Rosemary or anybody before that, whoever truly realized that there was any other way. And they were happy with it.
Isn't there like a theory,
content,
like a cave theory or something about
the prisoners? Yes, Plato. Allegory of the Cave.
Allegory of the Cave. There we go.
My gosh,
like that is what this is. Like, well, that's what that's what any sort of like dystopian society, like we live within that daily. And so baby's first allegory of the cave. Third grade being like, this reminds me of Plato's Allegory of the Cave.
Well, now, let's go to the movie a little bit, too, because if you've ever seen it, and I remember watching it one time.
I've never seen it. Is Matt Damon in it?
I don't know. I've seen it one time, and I was disappointed.
You don't remember when Matt Damon's in something? God.
No. But what I think was really cool, and it was a bit of a different perspective than I've ever had, because I've always been kind of a purist when it comes to movie adaptations. The only ones that when I think about it, that I've ever been truly happy with are the Hunger Game adaptations, because they add a layer to the richness of the text.
Fair.
But what she said that I thought was really interesting is she's okay with those changes because she understands that the movie and the book have to become completely separate entities because of the difference in their means of communication. So in books, you can do so much with the inner work of the character, whereas the movie is all visuals. And I can appreciate that. I still will never forgive whoever made the first Percy Jackson movie. No, I will never forgive them.
Leave Logan Lerman out of this.
You know what? He was doing his work. That whoever wrote that, though, whoever wrote that screenplay, I'm coming for you.
I love that movie, and I will never leave that behind from my youth. I tend to agree with her. Like, I think they're just two separate work. They're two separate things. I think you can achieve such different things. It's one of those things of like, once you release something, it becomes their art, not yours.
That's fair. Stop having good points.
Boo. I know. But I think for some people, the art of the book resonates. And then for others, the movie resonates.
That's fair.
And also, I think it depends on like whether you're a visual learner or a reader, or I think there's a lot of layers to it, but I don't think there's a the book is always better than the movie kind of fit to it.
I respectfully disagree, but you're that's okay. Because
you're allowed to.
You're so right.
Do you hear that, book club? Do you see us agreeing to disagree?
And that's beautiful. Now, one place where she didn't want to agree to disagree, or I guess she said, okay, I guess.
Great segue.
There was one major change that she was a little disappointed with. She understands why, but it was the change in Jonas's age. And that's because in the book, obviously, he is a young preteen.
Yeah.
Whereas in the movie, he's 16, 17, which I really do think changes the entire perspective.
That's fair.
I
do think that's
the meaning. Not meaning, but intensity, I guess. What's
yeah.
the word? My precision of language.
Oh, no.
No. But yeah,
I hear that. I also will argue that if this were a child, I know this book is frequently challenged. And so it makes me wonder, sometimes you have to sacrifice certain things to get a message across.
That's fair. Yeah.
I wonder if just age was one of
I
those
think
things that
I'm
got
not gonna lie.
sacrificed.
I think some of the things, if they tried to visually represent this with a young child like that, it would be
bad.
rough.
Yeah.
But another fun fact about the movie is Jeff Bridges, who
Jeff Bridges.
he was the first person to ever reach out to Lois about film rights, and he originally wanted to direct it, but have his father play the giver. But sadly, his father died before the filming, and so Jeff Bridges played the giver himself. And my other fun fact that Haley thought was also hilarious was that originally the movie did not have the voiceover narration it does now, but apparently when Harvey Weinstein watched it, he didn't understand what was going on, so they had to go back in and add the narration on top explaining because little Harvey couldn't get the subtext.
Yeah.
But
a classic.
So,
I can't say I'm shocked.
Okay. So now we're running a little bit long, and the last time we thought this would go a little bit faster last time, but somehow
it is not
going longer than we originally had even the first time we did this.
We're just having 2 in-depth discussions.
I know. We
brought up the allegory of the cave.
I know. So I'm not going to go through all of the books. But there are some things I do want to touch on because I think it's so interesting.
And maybe, I mean, you're always going to have the notes. Maybe the books can be another
fair.
book club. But.
That's fair. But one thing that Lowry even says about herself is she's a very intuitive writer. So she just starts writing, doesn't know where the story's going, doesn't know how it's going to end. She just goes where it takes her.
That's so fucking real.
And you can really see that in the plot holes of the books.
Plot hole queen.
And that's where my biggest qualm is there's just so many things left unanswered. But some fun things that you kind of learn is that just about anybody who has the eyes, the blue colored light eyes, that means you got a gift.
You got laser eyes.
You got a gift.
You're like Wolverine.
And then the other books do introduce you to other communities that are completely different than the one Jonas grew up in. So for example, one of them, they don't treat children well. There's a really strong hierarchy between men and women. Strength is above everything. The way they get their names is different. So in one of them, it's a syllabic system where every time you get a little bit older, your name can gain a syllable. So for example, one young child who's pre-puberty, his name is Matt. In Gathering Blue, her name is Kira. Her mother was Katrina. And then the old lady that she apprentices under is Annabella. And I think that's really cool.
I think we deserve to change our names as we get older. We'll talk about that next episode, actually.
And then in another book, that village that they live in is really based on care, community, selflessness. You get your true name once you're old enough, and it's your role in the community. So for example, there's seer, there's leader, there's mentor, and you kind of get
candlestick maker.
Yeah.
Spoon licker.
I love the trolls.
Hot stirrer.
Shoe sniffer.
Shoe sniffer.
Yeah.
Doorway sniffer is actually the correct Yule lad.
Oh, I guess you're right.
Skier gobbler is another one. Sheepcoat clod.
Can you name
Shout
them
out
all?
to the Icelandic Yule lads. I probably could, but we don't have enough podcasts for that. Y'all aren't ready for a Yule lad podcast. We'll get there in December, maybe.
But another thing too that Lowry does is kind of introduce this like a true evil of the world in such an interesting way.
Human embodiment of
the human
evil,
embodiment of evil through something called the trade mart,
which I think is the child. What is it? Not child sniffer. What's child catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? That's exactly how I pictured it.
But
or the guy from Over the Garden Wall.
Oh yeah,
you know,
yeah. But essentially, this whole dude, his thing is you make a trade and then he will make it happen. But you get whatever you want, but he takes something essential to your person. So, for example, one person they take his honor, and then later on he takes someone's youth. And it just kind of turns into chaos.
What would you trade?
My dazzling personality.
That's a good one. That's what I would say.
My hard-hitting jokes.
Mine would be my intense knowledge of the Icelandic Yule Lads. But how hard would it be to not remember?
Fair. What would you do? But the last book, which I think was my favorite outside of The Giver, but specifically the first part, is when we go back to the community and we are from the perspective of a 14-year-old girl named Claire, who is a birth mother giving birth to her first product. So again, in this community, they don't have babies, they have products. Because again, the birth mothers they're not allowed to ever apply for a spouse or children. They give their birth.
14.
Yep.
And they're 14.
Yep. But she's trying to ask questions about what it's going to be like, but they're not allowed to talk about it between each other. And there's nobody tells her about what's going to happen. She has no idea of how this is going to be done. And then one day they blindfold her, lead her to this room, strap her to a table, and she gives birth. But sadly for Claire, her birth goes wrong.
Yeah.
And they have to perform a C-section. And all she remembers is the feeling. Of course, she's numbed, but she does remember the feeling of the pressure of them cutting her open. No one will tell her what's happening, them stitching it back up. And then all she wants is to hold the baby.
Yeah.
And they just take it away.
We've been we've been listening to a lot of like domestic horror, specifically around forced birth
and bodily autonomy.
Cannot recommend the book Scream With Me enough. And it just, for that to be something introduced to young readers is crazy.
Yeah, because it's still I don't know if it's necessarily, no.
Do we think that's an older?
No, I don't know. The way it's written is so interesting. I do think it is meant for people who started with The Giver as they kind of grew older, and it's written a lot. There's a big gap in publishing time, I believe, between
maybe like
the two.
A young adult.
It does possibly feel more young adult, but it's
I think too, like regardless, I mean, if you're a young woman, this is a very real, not necessarily like, well, I mean, to some extent possibility. Like
it was written or published in 2012.
Oh.
So there's a big gap.
Interesting.
But afterwards, they're like, yeah, so I don't know how nobody caught this, but you're definitely not going to be able. There's something's wrong with your body. You shouldn't be able to give birth, and you'll never do it again. So we're just going to actually just reassign you somewhere, which was really weird at the time, and it was hard, but nobody asked questions. And so they just reassign her, place her somewhere else. But this is where you learn that the pill that people take for the stirrings actually represses all feelings, because nobody caught that she wasn't taking that pill, because you're not allowed to take it while you are pregnant. But then as soon as you give birth, you're supposed to start taking it again. But she had never started the pill because she was, I guess, a late bloomer in that. And then she became a birth mother. And then there was the oversight when she was transferred. So she never took the pill. And so she continued to have these deep yearnings for her son. It's all she wanted. And then she became so lonely.
Yeah.
What is she? She can't talk to anybody. She doesn't understand. She has nobody to go to, and she's trying to sneak and hide and find out ways so she can meet her baby. And we do find out later that the baby, spoilers, was Gabe.
You know, when people are like, and that baby was Jesus Christ. Like, that's kind of what that was given.
Essentially, the whole rest of the book is her going off. She's like, I'm gonna get my son, after Jonas runs away.
This is Finding Nemo,
I guess. But yeah, she
Finding Gabe
goes off. She falls in the river and almost dies and gets in another community. And then they learn, like, this girl has no memory. She also doesn't know what colors or insects or birds are. That's weird. She falls in love with this one guy who teaches her how to be strong and climb a mountain so she can find her baby.
King.
And then she does that and then has to make a trade with Trademaster to take her to her son. He takes her to youth. She finds her son and then doesn't tell him for years. She skulks around the outside perimeter and just watches him from afar. But eventually she's dying. And and then she's like, it's finally time to tell them about my secret. And then
my secret, which I could have revealed this
years
whole
ago.
time.
And Gabe's like, I'm going to find my mom. I'm going to build a boat and I'm going to boat to the community
That
because
weird
Jonas is lying to me. Yeah, by the way, Jonas did live. He was the leader I was talking about.
Shout out to Jonas. I just love that he's like, that weird old lady reminds me, I also have a mom somewhere.
He's like, I'm gonna boat, and with this ore I carved that all of my friends put their name in, the power of friendship is gonna get me there.
This is so Finding Nemo.
And then she tells Jonas about,
when did this come out? Is this Finding Nemo?
This 2012, I told you.
That's right. When did Finding
Like,
Nemo come out?
2002? 3?
2003. That's 9 whole years for Finding Nemo to be written about.
And then she's like, Jonas, tell my son I love him. And then Jonas goes and tells him, and he's like, that can't be my mom. She's old. And Jonas is like,
my mom's not an old lady. That's an old lady. This is as much as this is Finding Nemo, this is also Sweeney Todd.
And then Jonas is like, I have to tell you about Trademaster. You'll never believe what he does. We have to kill him so your mom will turn young again. And Jonas is like, I don't want to kill somebody, but I guess I will for my mom.
For my old lady mom.
So he goes and he confronts Trademaster, the embodiment of evil. Yeah, remember how Gabe has light eyes? He has a power. He can veer and become anybody he wants. He can become their mind. He can see and feel exactly what's going on from behind their eyes. So when Trademaster comes and challenges him to a duel, he sees he's evil and goes, you know what? All you want is suffering. Well, remember that person you hurt in our village? Well, actually, he's saved. And Trademaster goes, no! And with the power of love and friendship, he dissolves Trademaster away. And then he goes back to the community. Claire wakes up and then is young again. And then it ends.
Lois, no notes. None. Not one.
Guys, I'm not lying.
I liked the Fern Gully ending. I thought it was fun.
I'm not lying when I say that was the craziest fucking ending of the series. They all connect. All of those characters come back and become major.
That is so cool.
Yes. All of the characters from the entire series are incredibly important to this plot, and I did fully skip over 2 of them. They're interesting. Are they the best written thing I've ever read? No. But they have very interesting messages. I do think they are worth reading, especially if you are a parent. I think these are great books to read with your children and talk about. Yeah. They are meant to discuss.
It makes me want to read them. Really and truthfully. Like, even though we were being silly, like, in that last book, like, I am so impressed with this book's ability to handle some of the really, really heavy messages and tones.
Yes, every book is a heavy hitter, and they're all about children who are like between the ages of 11 to 15. That's the age of all of the characters.
Yeah, I think it is so cool.
One of the people sacrifices themselves to save the spirit of the forest.
Yeah.
What? Lois, are you kidding me?
Lois, that's crazy. Lois, please collect your flowers now.
They're wild books, and I genuinely wish I could talk more about it. We are so long into this. I apologize, listeners.
Podcast.
But speaking of, we did technically already rate it.
We did.
But we can talk about what we gave it, because I can say I loved this book, and I think we both really enjoyed it.
I think it's so hard because hearing it the first time, there's something
magical about it.
Yeah, so cool and magical about hearing the plot the first time.
And I dove into all of it.
Yeah, that didn't probably translate as great because we're re-recording. But I think there's something so special about this book, this series, really.
Yeah.
And I know one of our friends, Stephanie, is also really into this book, and also it stuck with her as much as it stuck with you. And so I know as far as lasting power.
So what we originally gave it is the readability and finishability. And this is not of the entire series. This is of the Giver only. Mm-hmm. We gave it a 5. I read it. It's less than 200 pages. It is written for young children. It is a quick read. It is not a hard read. And I could read it in a sitting and just be, what the hell, the whole time.
And I want to read it. The
vibes, we did give a 4 because sometimes things were a little crazy and it made us really sad sometimes.
Yeah.
But the test of time, we gave it a 5. I think this is...
Yeah.
It's an easy one to read. The message holds up. I think even now more than ever.
I think too, the lasting power of this, all of the messaging of like, there's grief, there's the, of course, the tone of like feeling responsible for keeping the peace of your society and feeling like responsible there, memory, like there's so many things that it touches on. And I feel like not every children's book or even like YA book touches on those themes responsibly and truthfully.
Yeah, or would just age appropriate care. Because even though this book is really heavy, the things that I am sharing with you are hard. They don't feel the same when you're reading it. As a child, I did not get all of this, even reading it with my mom.
This was a great one to bring back. Like The Road, I feel like this had very similar feelings.
Which is, now that you say that, became our number 1
this was our
rated.
Number 1.
And then below that, tied, is The Road and Frankenstein.
Frankenstein is one of my favorite books, so very high praise.
So, and I'm just sad too, because the first time we did this, I feel like you brought up so many interesting things, and I wish I could remember all of them. We had a really great discussion. I'm so sorry, listeners. But this is a good one. Read it. Have a conversation
Discuss
with someone.
It with your friends.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Discuss it with us.
Because even like The Road and Frankenstein, they were harder reads.
Yeah.
This one's an easy read. There's no excuse.
Yeah. I think too, like, I don't know, if you don't have friends, come and message us.
Well, come and yap with us.
Yap with us.
We're second chancing approving this one.
Yes, we are.
And thank you for yapping with us. We definitely yapped. And if you want to yap more, you can hop over to our Instagram, check out clues for the next episode, share your thoughts about The Giver. If you need a friend to talk about it with, we could be your friend. But speaking of clues, what's up next?
So I have one that I'm bringing back. It's a clue that I gave before, and you're gonna be like, Haley, you gave that clue and then you didn't record a podcast for many months. And I'm gonna say, yeah. But my clue is Star.
I'm excited for us to get to talk about this one because you've been holding it in the chamber for a while.
It has been in the chamber for a second. And now that some more people in our like actual social circle know that we're reading it, more people are also reading it. So I'm excited to talk about it on the podcast.
Having to be held in the dark, and I have to go in another room when anybody talks about it.
Ha ha ha.
And that sucks.
Well, soon.
Well, that's all we got on this book. So, see you next book club. Bye.
Take 2.
This is the Patchouli Podcast Network.